What's up, everybody? It's June 22nd, 2017, and it's been 2,845 days since the U beat FSU in football. Most of the talk today is going to be about the NBA and the draft and what teams have been doing and all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. So I got a little checklist. The draft is still going on at this time, right here, press time. We're kind of like close to the mid second round almost. But I got enough to where I want to talk about now, and I may have a part two, just depending on how things go here. Um, First thing, congratulations to Derek Carr. We talked about it yesterday and maybe the day before that the Raiders were going to sign him to a $25 million contract, $25 million a year contract for 5 years, $125 million, and they did. So congratulations to him. Um, Being a Charger fan, a rival of the Raiders, I hope that prevents them from paying somebody who can help the team. So, way to go, Raiders. Good job. I'm trying to get through with all the non basketball stuff first, so we're going to get that out of the way. Uh, the next thing would be the Angels. The Angels spotted the Yankees 5-1. They were down 5-1 to the Yankees today and won 10-5. Great comeback by the Angels. All this before Mike Trout comes back, so they're holding down the fort until Mike comes back. That could be big, and maybe they can find some consistency with the pitching and be a threat down the line, at least to make the playoffs. I think pretty much the division is out of reach. The Astros have been doing pretty well, so good win by the Angels today, and hopefully it continues to snowball into something else uh, with the return of our MVP. Everything else left is pretty much about the draft and about the NBA. So we'll start at the top. First of all, Folks, I forgot his first name. He was the first pick of the draft. He was drafted by the 76ers. It's a good pick by the 76ers, who I thought had a great draft overall. Um, they had the draft, they had the draft picks to do it. But with a healthy Joel Embiid and a healthy Ben Simmons, this could be a very uh, good young team. And I have to stress young because they're not going to be a team that's going to probably make it to the Eastern Conference Final or maybe even the Eastern semis. But I think being healthy, they could be a playoff team, and they could surprise a few people or scare a few teams if you catch them at the wrong time. So I think if they can mature and stay healthy, the Sixers are going to be pretty good. They did a great job with their draft, and like I said, they got some pieces for the future, and I think they're going to be all right. The second pick of the draft, and probably the whole talk of the draft pretty much, was Alonzo Ball. The Lakers picked him in the second pick. Um, it was a good pick by the Lakers, and I think it was a correct pick. First of all, they had to make the pick. They had just traded D'Angelo Russell uh, and Timothy Mozgov to Brooklyn, I think it was. So they needed a point guard, and I think when you're talking about a 6'6" guard, he's a 6'6" guard. Lonzo Ball is a 6'6" guard who can handle the rock, who can shoot, um, and he finds teammates, makes his teammates better, and he's got a good perimeter shot. I think you got somebody there. Maybe put on a little bit more weight so he can have a better post game because he might need that. He'll be able to use that in a post game, being 6'6", but he has to put on a little bit of weight. He's kind of light, so he's not gonna resort to trying to post somebody. And then the other thing is, it's probably the last facet of the game, and that's most of these players nowadays. The last facet of their game, they want to get a mid-range shot. So, because everybody's not going to let you slash to the goal, and somebody's going to play perimeter ball on you. So, what you might want to do is work on your mid-range. I think if Lonzo can put on a little bit more weight, maybe 10, 15 pounds, give me a 215, 6'6", and get a mid-range, I think he'd be pretty good guard. So I think the pick is good. People have asked me, well, what do you think about his dad? His dad is his dad. His dad is very proud of what he's done, and I'm talking about him, the dad. I think he's proud of what he's done to where he's got his son to the NBA, and then he's proud of the fact that his son did the hard work. Probably had to deal. Everybody's talking about us having to deal with LeVar Ball. What do you think the son has to deal with? So with it, he's proud of his son getting to where he got to, and he's just happy for what he's done. I don't think anybody should direct their disdain for LeVar Ball towards Lonzo Ball. I don't think that's fair. Um, his dad's proud of him. He's going to talk. He's going to talk big of him. What parent doesn't talk big of him? The only reason why you haven't heard about other parents talking about him because nobody's putting a microphone to their face. And so, even before you get mad at LeVar Ball, get mad at the media. They're the ones putting the microphone in his face. And then the other thing is, if you want to be mad, if you want to take shots and say negative things, go after the dad. Don't go after the son, who's basically said nothing. He's pretty much played. Just pretty much played basketball. So, nevertheless, we'll see what happens in the NBA. But I think the Lakers did a good job in their draft and making the trade moves, making the moves that they have via trade. Uh, Slowly but surely, they're going to bring it back together. Now, Luke Walton's going to have to get them all to blend in together and play together and get it all to mesh. And I think they're going to be okay. Um, are they a playoff team this year? Could be, depending on what kind of pieces they give away. I think they really need to keep their power forward. I think it's Randall. They need to keep Randall, and like I said, and they're keeping Ingram, and now they have Ball, um, and then they even got a Lopez from Brooklyn, and he can move a little bit more than Mozgov, so I think that's an improvement. So we'll see how it is, and then you also got to talk about their bench. They got to rebuild that bench, so not sure if they're going to be a playoff team, but they're not going to be easy out. As how they've kind of looked for the last 3 years. The only team that they seem like they could beat pretty much on a consistent basis the last 3 years was Golden State. Go figure. But the Lakers did a great job. Very seldom would you hear me say something like that. Uh, but they did. So they played well. Uh, the Boston Celtics, they took Tatum, and I forgot his first name, out of Duke. They needed a shooter. I thought I'd mention that because that's one thing they needed, that wing guy who could shoot, which kind of spread the offense a little bit, kind of spread it where Marcus Smart and Isaiah Thomas could do their thing. I think that's big for them. So that was a good move there. I didn't go through every draft pick, but I just thought, some of the picks were pretty important, pretty good. So I thought that was a pretty good move there. Celtics got a lot of house money, got a lot of stuff that they can do with what they have, whether it be draft picks, that sort of thing. So it'd be interesting to make sure that maybe sometimes having too much makes it harder for you to try to achieve what you're trying to achieve. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out because you get all these draft picks. They're of no use if you can't do anything, if you can't do what you want to do with them. And then what happens is you have just a stockpile of players and maybe you can use them as trade bait, that sort of thing, or maybe you can use, you know, future picks or whatever to get it done. But hey, we'll see what happens. But Boston's still in a good spot, but they're trying to build it up together to try to be that team in the Eastern Conference to overtake Cleveland. I think they can do it. They just gotta make sure they're putting the pieces together. Jimmy Butler was traded by the Chicago Bulls to the Minnesota Timberwolves. He was traded in a draft pick to the Timberwolves for Zach LaVine. Uh, there was another, I think it was a small forward, and a draft pick as well. I can't remember who the other guy was. But I thought that was interesting because if I thought anybody was going to be traded, it might have been Dwayne Wade. But they couldn't do anything with Dwayne Wade until his opt-in. He's opting in, so and he can't. I guess he can't sign that opt-in until uh, July 1st when the new year starts, the new NBA year starts. But nevertheless, they traded Jimmy Butler, and I think they're just ready to start over fresh again. But this is a great move for Minnesota. Jimmy Butler goes back to his old coach, Tom Thibodeau, and they're trying to win. And they're going to have a great starting five. You're talking about Jimmy Butler. You're talking about Ricky Rubio. You're talking about Andrew Wiggins. You're talking about Karl Anthony Towns. It's a pretty good team. And the young guy, Dame, it's a pretty good team for the Timberwolves. So it's going to be pretty interesting in Minnesota. Don't know how good that bench is going to be, but they're going to have one of the more potent top fives, starting fives in the league. And like I said, that really works for Jimmy Butler. He's young. He can, he can just roll with that team, and they're going to be a threat. He moves to the Western Conference, where it's fireworks in the Western Conference. What does that mean for the Bulls? They're doing it again. They're blowing it all up and starting all over again. I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up trading Dwayne Wade after he signs his opt-in clause, or maybe even buy him out. Some people say, well, buy him out, that's a very expensive deal because you're going to have to give him the majority of his contract to buy him out. They're also thinking about buying out, who's the other guy? There's another guy who's making 13 million. They may buy him out as well, and I can't think of who it is. But it's a lot of basically dead money you're going to just give away to start over because they got some rookies coming in. But still, I don't know if you want to do that. But for Dwayne Wade, you probably would have to trade or buy him out because that's all you have there. For Dwayne Wade, that's a very good positive because if you buy him out, then he can go sign with somebody else, and because he's basically gotten the majority of his contract, he can go play for somebody for the league minimum. He's pretty much made what he's going to make for the entire year, as if it was just a regular year. So he could become a high commodity uh, if he is bought out. And you can look at teams that are looking for maybe that, not necessarily that shooting guard starter, but that backup or just an efficient guy, a guy with veteran experience, championship experience. Yeah, unfortunately, this could mean Cleveland. Guys want to get over the hump. I don't think he's going to go to Golden State. Maybe even San Antonio. San Antonio could use a shooting guard. They're trying to trade Danny Green. Uh, Kyle Anderson's the other shooting guard. Don't really know if that's the answer. My belief is that they should let Jonathan Simmons be the two. Um, but Dwayne Wade would be a nice addition to the squad and at a cheap price because he's already getting his money. So, stay tuned to the Bulls and how they're going to be doing things because that's going to be really interesting. The last thing about the Bulls, you did the trade, and I think it was more of just trying to get rid of Jimmy Butler's contract, and you went ahead and took Zach LaVine, who's coming off of injury. How healthy is he going to be, or how healthy is he? It's going to be interesting, but I guess it was worth the deal if you're going to get rid of a player, uh, for a contract. Because Zach LaVine, I think you're getting three. I think he's got a $3 million contract, 3 million and change. So from that standpoint, it's pretty easy to do. So Bulls looks like they're going to start over, trying to get things going. Minnesota's headed up. They're going to be some problems in that Western Conference playing those guys. Um, so that's where we are so far with our draft. So that's part one. We'll be back with part two. In part two, we'll talk about what Knowles got drafted. We'll talk about John Calipari, believe it or not, and the Orlando Magic. What's going on with them? What are they doing? And we're going to also be talking about our San Antonio Spurs, see what they've been doing. So be back for part two.